We have heard a lot about haunted attractions around the world. However, what about churches where ghosts, goblins, ghouls and others of their tribes still worship? Here is a list of the most haunted churches around the world, as well as information about the awry past and scary present of each. Many of the places on the list are not frequented by humans. Those who have braved visiting them have reported paranormal experiences. Find out how they became what they are and what their spooky nature is. There were only 600 civilians left in the town of Oradour Church in France after one of the deadliest massacres of the last few centuries. The Nazi soldiers entered this town on a fateful day in June 1944 and for some unknown reason, separated the men from their wives and children. As the men were being shot dead, women and children were locked inside the church, which was then set on fire and blasted with machine gun fire. This is the history of this town. It is true that there are disasters, and then there are disasters like the one Ukraine faced in 1986 that left the country without life. Chernobyl's nuclear disaster in Ukraine is an unfortunate memory in the era of modern civilization. What makes this site so haunting? The church in the deserted region looks almost as it did when it was abandoned. According to legend, this is one of the most haunted churches in the world. The crazy pastor of the Egg Hill Church murdered all his parishioners after communion and then hanged himself. It has been reported that people have heard the cries of children who died at the hands of the pastor, despite the fact that the building remains locked and empty. Furthermore, the abandoned church and its premises are rumored to be vandalized and haunted by ghosts. Borobudur was built around the 8th–9th century under the Sailendra dynasty in Indonesia. Due to some mysterious circumstances, the temple lost its former sheen between the 10th–15th centuries, only to be restored by UNESCO in the 1970s. There are carvings on its walls, illustrating torture, beheadings, and other such gruesome images that shed light on the site's violent buried past. During the Spanish Civil War, a ghost town named Belchite near the city of Zaragoza was ravaged in 1937. After the Spanish dictator Francisco Franco, who had an ulterior motive, took advantage of the situation by having a new town built nearby instead of repairing the damaged town. By retaining the ruined town as a symbol of the severe damage caused by the war, he hoped to build a strong case against the leftists. Belchite's cathedral exists as a reminder of the gory war that the former town witnessed. Clophill, an Old English village, has an abandoned church named St. Mary the Virgin built in 1350. Although the church dates back to the medieval period, it is not a treasure worthy of being kept today. This former chapel is full of interesting stories. It is believed by the locals that the church is haunted by the devil because the altar faces south, towards hell. According to Christian beliefs, churches should be built facing the east, which is the direction of heaven and the coming of Messiah, the Christ. The church premises have been haunted by ghosts and satanic forces. The 20th century City Methodist Church in Gary closed down about 50 years after its founding, as if it was built to be abandoned. $1 million were spent by the town and the U.S. Steel Corporation on the construction of this Gothic-style chapel that looked like an architectural masterpiece from England. In a quirk of fate, Gary's steel industry and township began to decline, and many in the church disowned it. As time went on, the upkeep of the church demanded more money than the owners could afford. In the late 1970s, it was relinquished like a hot potato. Today, the church is so spooky that movie makers have come here to shoot movies such as Nightmare on Elm Street and Transformers 3. As with the Methodist Church of Gary, the Campanile Cathedral's bell tower is the only thing that remains as a memento of a thriving town that existed until 1939. When an Italian power company decided to merge two lakes into one to supply more water to a hydroelectric power station, the town was destroyed. The project was stalled by World War II, but only for a short period of time. The company carried out its destructive plan in 1950. As an abode of mystery since the 20th century, the All Saints Church is shrouded in thick vegetation. It is hard to pinpoint the exact reason for its spooky nature. The only thing that can be seen there today is a crumbling building overtaken by the forest, camouflaging a few church benches and unknown graves. How many people venture near this decaying church today, we wonder. What lies beneath the artificial lake in Russia's small town of Kalyazin? It's not a lighthouse, but a portion of Russia's sunken history. According to an old legend, the communist government attempted to make the rocky Volga navigable in the 1940s by building dams and reservoirs on the upper Volga. Because of the dam, the region gained means of transportation and hydroelectricity, but many towns and settlements were submerged. Only a portion of the bell tower of Makarievsky Monastery survived the onslaught of dam waters. Walking beneath a sunken civilization gives us the creeps.